All right, it's time for the Starman Report with our buddy Eli.
Welcome back to the Starman Report. I'm Eli Burton, your host, and today we have the latest updates from SpaceX and new developments from the China Academy of Space Technology. Starting off with SpaceX, the Starship vehicle embarked on its sixth test flight on November 19th, launching from the Starbase site at Boca Chica, Texas. Shortly after liftoff, the Super Heavy booster, designated as Booster 13, separated from the Starship upper stage. However, plans changed mid-mission, and instead of returning to the launch site, the booster was diverted offshore. This maneuver was announced by controllers as a booster offshore divert.
We'll see those grid fins.
Booster offshore divert.
A SpaceX spokesperson said that not all of the criteria for a booster catch was met, so the flight director did not order the booster to return to the launch site. Even though the booster was not able to be caught this time, the upper stage, known as Ship 31, was successfully placed into an orbital trajectory. And during its brief journey in space, SpaceX tested reigniting one of the Raptor's engines, which is a critical capability for future deorbit burns. The Starship then re-entered over the Indian Ocean, and the company pushed the envelope by altering the re-entry profile and using an older thermal protection system. And despite some damage to the flap, the Starship managed a soft ocean landing. Moving on to international news, China has announced a successful test of a new space station technology. The China Academy of Space Technology, CAST, successfully tested its first inflatable space module in orbit. This achievement marks an important development for China and space habitat technology. This module, while just a test, paves the way for future larger modules that could be used to expand the Tianyong space station or be deployed as short-term space stations for commercial projects. Echoing past experiments like the beam demonstration on the International Space Station, this positions China alongside other leaders such as Lockheed Martin and Sierra Space in exploring inflatable habitats. Well, guys, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of the Starman Report, and I look forward to having you back for more of the most exciting news in space.
Thanks, Eli. And for 1 week only, just for our viewers, you can read the Starman adventure Shadow Over Mars at this link. We'll put it in the show notes below. And as Eli reported, on Tuesday, November 19th at 4 p.m. Central, we got to see the sixth launch of Starship. This was Starship number 31 and Super Heavy booster number 13 on the pad just before liftoff from Starbase in Boca Chica, Texas. Elon said the objectives for Starship Flight 6 are restart of Raptor engines in vacuum, check. Daylight landing of the ship, check. Higher peak heating, steeper reentry, check. And faster/harder booster catch, not checked. No checked. And he said there are thousands of small design changes also being tested. Also, Starship 6 had some cargo on board. Yes, a banana was strapped in the cargo bay.
Banana.
Starlink said today's Starship flight test has a special payload on board, a banana. This universally accepted measurement of scale is approximately the size of one Starlink Mini. And this explains the new banana graphic on the side of the ship. Last launch, it was Mechazilla, this time a banana. And Little Humans Big Impact says, I need to know what happened to this banana. And Elon said, well, the fairing did blow up when the ship fell over after landing in the water, as expected.
Banana!
And if you need that banana decal, it is available as a 48-inch by 40-inch wall decal on the SpaceX website for $75. That's pretty big. I mean, I guess the banana is to scale, but the banana holding the banana is big. Than a banana. During this sixth flight test, we got to see a Raptor engine restart in space for the first time, which is a hugely important step. Yeah, this test moves SpaceX even closer to a successful Artemis mission to landing Starship on the moon. Yes, folks, that is going to happen. And we get this picture from Elon, Starship hot stage separation. And to show you how little the legacy media has even paid attention, let alone covered previous SpaceX missions, this is from the BBC. Everything working as it should, SpaceX says. In a post on X, SpaceX says that 30 minutes into the sixth flight test, all systems continue to look nominal. This appears to be a typo. We think it should say normal. And Peter Haig says, no, BBC News, it's not a typo. It's a new word you need to learn following this stuff. And Elon laughed. Yeah, you don't just flip open the dictionary? Or, I'm sorry, just
fucking Google it.
Or watch a couple more launches and see that they use this word all the time.
They use it every single launch.
Since the 60s?
SpaceX did not invent this word.
No.
We got this amazing simulcast of Starship landing in the ocean, both from the ship itself using Starlink and from a buoy also using Starlink.
Elon said, successful ocean landing of Starship. We will do one more ocean landing of the ship. If that goes well, then SpaceX will attempt to catch the ship with the tower. So we're talking about Flight 8, I believe.
And so finally, something will have thrown something all the way around the world and then caught it.
Yes.
Which is a question that as soon as I understood that the world was round and I understood a little bit about throwing things, it was a question that I had. Could I throw a baseball so hard that I could turn around and catch it?
Now, do you think that they're going to catch the booster as well and then get the booster out of the way in time for Starship to land there? Or they're going to land the booster out in the ocean?
No, I think the idea is
to catch both.
There's supposed to be two arms. So you should be able to catch the booster, move it out of the way, then have the other arms catch the ship, and then you just restack it.
Well, I mean, I know that's the long term. I just don't know if they have all that ready.
Well, right. I don't know what they're going to do for this test.
I'm so excited, though. And Elon said the biggest technology challenge remaining for Starship is a fully and immediately reusable heat shield, being able to land the ship, refill propellant, and launch right away with no refurbishment or laborious inspection. That is the acid test.
And Geister-Jagger said, is the perspirative cooling still off the table? What is perspirative cooling?
That is when you cool it with a liquid. So Elon said metallic shielding supplemented by ullage gas or liquid film cooling is back on the table as a possibility.
So this would be like having it sweat on the way down.
I think so.
And that would carry some of the heat away as opposed to having an ablative tile, which would burn up.
Right.
Crazy.
Elon went on to say current Starship is more than twice as powerful as the Saturn V moon rocket. Starship version 3, which hopefully flies in about a year, will be 3 times more powerful.
And Basement asked, will Starship version 3 be the same size but more powerful, or will it be even more massive?
Elon said same diameter of 9 meters, about 30 feet, but longer and at least 2 versions. The propellant tanker version will be especially heavy as the payload volume in the forward section will mostly contain propellant. Thrust goal will be about 10,000 tons or 3 times the Saturn V, and liftoff massive tanker version about 7,000 tons. This should be capable of 200 tons of orbital refueling. Note, 3% of liftoff mass as useful cargo would be insanely good for a fully reusable orbital rocket. Most expendable rockets aren't that good. And then we mentioned the upcoming NASA Artemis mission to the moon. SpaceX said Starship will be used to land astronauts on the lunar surface on NASA's Artemis 3 mission, which will put the first humans on the moon since 1972.
Elon said, special version of Starship, delete heat shield and flaps, add landing legs. This could, of course, only be used between translunar orbit and lunar surface, given no heat shield or flaps.
And if you're wondering how big Starship is, check this out from Massimo.
So we get to see the size comparison between the Space Shuttle, Crew Dragon, Cybertruck, and a human. Look at that little human.
I know. Think that you can put 100 of them on there.
I know.
Starlink enabled real-time views of Earth during Starship's 6th flight test earlier today.
Man, if only you could use Starlink kind of like that, where you're like moving really crazy and stuff like that.
Oh, well, you can. This year at the Baja 1000, dirt bike rider Ben Hunter crossed the finish line with a Starlink Mini taped to his head.
I wanted to race the Baja so bad, but my mom wouldn't let me because I have type 1 diabetes. And she said the only way I could race it is if I was live streaming to her the whole time.
What did he mean it worked with Elon?
I don't know, but Elon said, cool.
Cool.
And Starlink said high-speed internet while in motion, duct tape not included. I think they should include the duct tape.
Well, I don't think everyone's going to be duct taping Starlink to their head.
If you want to be able to talk to your mom the whole time. And SpaceX said watch Falcon 9 launch 20 Starlink satellites to orbit from California, including 13 with direct-to-cell capabilities. Ben Longmire says 1 launch left for direct-to-cell first commercial orbital shell completion.
And Elon said almost there.
And Elon said Starlink's new system enables internet connectivity for your mobile phone with no extra equipment or special app. It just works.
And Elon said congrats SpaceX teams on completing 3 successful orbital launches in 20 hours. 3 launches in 20 hours.
Disruption.
SpaceX went on to say, we recently tested heat shield materials in a simulated Martian atmosphere as we aim to launch the first Starships to Mars in 2026.
That is so exciting.
And there's a really good article from our buddy Eric Berger at Ars Technica. SpaceX just got exactly what it wanted from the FAA for Texas Starship launches. Essentially, on November 20th, right after Starship's 6th launch, the FAA, in its 158-page document known as the Environmental Assessment, granted SpaceX permission to increase the number of Starship launches from 5 per year to 25 per year.
Funny. The FAA was so difficult to work with until now. I really wonder what changed.
And Eric Berger went on to say this is a pretty big win for SpaceX from a regulatory standpoint.
Elon said Starship is clearly not causing harm to the local environment, so this is just common sense. You can't even tell the difference between a before and after launch photo, except that the rocket is no longer on the launch mount. Well, that's no longer going to be the case when they start catching the rockets.
Right. Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching Now You Know Clips.
You can watch full episodes of Tesla Time News on Tuesdays and in-depths on Fridays. Just click the link down below and head over to the Now You Know channel.